Hello, what's your name?
My name is Jeanie Perl.
How many years did you teach music?
19 years altogether. Two different places, one in St. Louis, Missouri, and one in Tiffin.
How was your time at Tiffin?
Ask me again.
What did you teach while you were in Tiffin?
I taught general music and vocal music, and enjoyed it very much. I taught at the old West Junior High, and it was very sad to see him tear it down. We had a lot of good times there. The students were fine, and some people seem to think maybe they were bad kids because they I shouldn't say this. Do I get to redo something?
So you said you taught to middle schoolers and would cause them to be bad kids in the eyes of the people that were around.
Oh, well, people thought that they were not going to be very well disciplined, but that was not the case. And I enjoyed them very much.
What got you interested in teaching music?
I've always loved music ever since I've been a little kid. And I especially like to sing. And so I kind of fell into that pattern. Did a lot of singing in high school. Then I got to take music lessons and vocal lessons from Perl as I was a junior and senior in high school. And so it was just a natural thing for me to go on then. I went to Heidelberg and got my degree there. And from there on, well, I met my husband at Heidelberg. So that was a plus for me and him, I hope. And then he went to seminary, and we were married, and I taught then in St. Louis when he was going to seminary in St. Louis. Was at a church, got a church in Crestline, Ohio. And then from there he went to New Bremen, Ohio. And of course we started a family by that time, and so I didn't really look for a job. But after one of the kids started to college, I found a place to work, and that place was right here in Tiffin. And we had moved to Tiffin for a job for my husband. And so it was very interesting life, and enjoyed it very much, and had a lot of good experiences all through the years.
What were some of your more memorable moments?
Memorable moments?
Yes.
Well, in regard to teaching or otherwise?
Sure, teaching or anything really.
Well, my most memorable moment is when I married my husband. And of course, the churches that he served, I was able to serve with him because they'd always needed a music teacher, a choir director. And I was available. So I had a part-time job. But memorable, having two children, 2 daughters, and the people that we worked with were wonderful people. And I'm talking of the people in the churches. And I think we learned a lot about them, and they learned a lot about us, and about the job of relating to the people in the churches. But I also was able to start children's choirs in both churches. And that was interesting because the second church, we had never had a children's choir, and there were 61 kids showed up. I didn't know what I was going to do with 61 kids in a choir that had no choir experience. So I soon learned. Some of them didn't come back because their parents made them come. And I knew that, and the next time I think we had about 40. And that didn't disturb me because that was the way it was. You know, I knew what was behind all that. They thought they had a good thing going, and the kids decided it wasn't as good as they thought it was going to be.
So in your 19 years of teaching, how did the whole process change?
Oh, okay. It became more difficult because of the students being less disciplined from home. And so discipline was important for me to work with the children or the students. And there's more paperwork, although I can't say that I quit teaching about the time the paperwork really advanced or became more plentiful. So I think I got out at a time when it was more pleasant, or before it got too tricky.
Favorite musical or song that you taught in your years as a choir director?
Oh, I could make a list. No, I don't really have a favorite. Some of the kids would, probably, or students would. I try not to call them kids or students. I made an effort at that, but here I am doing it again. No, I really can't tell you, and it's too many years of singing that I don't hardly remember what I did do, what I did sing, what we did sing.
What were some of the songs you liked when you were, a teenager or it was out? I'm real interested in music history, and I go way back in my music interest. And that's something that I thought I'd ask you.
Mm-hmm. I really liked the show tunes, the musicals, and I remember sitting at my piano at home, making sure I could play some of the tunes that were available at that time, like Showboat, Carousel. Can't think of anything.
Do you like the big bands? Or?
No, I wasn't into that kind of music. Sorry to say, since you're a band person.
Part about teaching.
My favorite part?
Yeah.
Connecting with kids and feeling like I was making a difference in some children's lives. And it was very, very important to me to be sure to have the kids have a good experience with music. And it was exciting. Some people would say, "What do you teach?" I said, "I teach junior high vocal music." "Oh, you poor thing." I said, no, it's really great. I like them a lot. And so some people have an idea that junior high kids are going to be tough to deal with. Well, they weren't exactly easy, but after a couple years of teaching, I came to love them. But it took a little experience for me to get that way, to appreciate that.
Did you go into junior high teaching as a first choice, or was it just what you fell into?
It wasn't a first choice at all. In fact, one person that that interviewed me said, I kept saying, is there some elementary teacher that's about to retire so I can be interviewed? And he said, do you want a job or don't you? I said, well, I really need a job. So I wasn't planning to get into the junior high, but it was well, it grew on me, like I said earlier. And after the first job I had in St. Louis, I thought, I don't want to teach elementary kids. There's too much I can't do with them that I could do with the junior high kids. And so that's the way it happened. As the jobs were available at that level. That was fine with me.
Did you have any memorable students?
Yes, as a matter of fact. I had a young lady who was who went to New York. She was a singer. She went to New York, and she is still in New York, I think. And she is doing some. The last I knew from her, she is doing some show things, you know. Has come back to Tiffin. I've seen her, hugged her, and we were really excited to see each other. But she's living in New York, doing what she can do in the music field.